Hello students. In the earlier class, we discussed about the economic importance of bacteria, especially with respect to medicine. We covered aspects of antibiotics and serum.
Moving on to the next important application of bacteria is in the production of vaccines. Okay, vaccines. What are vaccines? Vaccines are biological preparations that contain a weakened or killed form of a disease causing microorganism. What does it do? It stimulates the immune system to develop resistance to a particular disease. So, what does a vaccine contain? It contains weakened or killed form of what? Disease causing microorganism. Okay, so when we administer a vaccine, we call that vaccination. Okay, giving a vaccine to a person is a vaccination. So, what happens when a person is vaccinated? He produces or she produces antitoxins. Okay, antitoxins. And what does it do? It helps to provide the immunity against the disease attack. Now, vaccines, how are they produced? As we have seen earlier, that they are weakened or killed forms of the disease causing microorganisms like bacteria. There are the two. One is the killed and one is the weakened. Correct. Example is tab vaccine for typhoid. Okay, so this is a older version, that is a typhoid. Okay, paratyphoid A, paratyphoid B combination. There is a three bacteria. Okay, three bacterial strains: typhoid bacteria, paratyphoid A, paratyphoid B. Three of these bacteria are first grown in test tubes, and then they are mixed together and they are killed. Okay, they can be killed by heat, okay, or by using certain chemicals like formalin. Okay, and then these are provided as a vaccine. Okay, that is a tab vaccine for typhoid. So commercially in the market, what we see these days is like this Typhobar, like this. You see the vaccines for typhoid. So this is what is a killed preparation. They can be living. Okay, you can provide a living bacteria, but that living bacteria is weak. Okay, it is weak, it is weakened. That means it is not able to produce the disease. Okay, so what happens? So when you are giving a bacteria that is similar to the disease causing bacteria, but it is weak, then the body will try to make antitoxins, antibodies against that bacteria. So what happened? The body already has developed some immunity against the bacteria. So what will happen? So when the real infection comes, the real bacteria, pathogenic bacteria will come. By the time the body is already having all those antibodies. Okay, so then in short span of time, the person can recover. Example is BCG for tuberculosis. Okay, tuberculosis disease. Vaccine name is BCG. BCG stands for Bacillus calmette-guerin. Okay, this is available in the market in this form, where a living, okay, living culture in these tubes. What you have? You have the living but weak bacteria. Okay, moving on to the next application of bacteria are toxoids. What are toxoids? We know toxins. Okay, toxins. Toxins are toxic or poisonous. Correct. toxoids are derived from toxins. Okay, they are coming from toxins. But what are these? These are non-toxic. These are non-toxic. So generally what we do some kind of treatment on these toxins so that they become non-toxic. Okay. So toxoid is a inactivated toxin whose toxicity is suppressed. But what is the important part? It can stimulate the immune system to produce antibodies. Okay, so toxoid is not toxic, but what it can do? It can stimulate the immune system to produce the antibodies. So what we do is the scientists, they collect the toxins, they inactivate the toxin, okay, by some kind of chemical modification, okay, some kind of chemical modification, so that what happens is this is toxide is non-toxic, but can it stimulate the immune system? Yes, immune system will be stimulated. So therefore antibodies will be produced. So the person will be able to get the resistance against that disease or those kind of toxins. Okay. Now there are these are like common in the market we see for tetanus. So you already know that sometimes with rusted objects people get the injury, then it may result in tetanus. So we take a tetanus injection. Okay. So tetanus and diphtheria toxoids. Okay, diphtheria is another disease. So both of these are available as toxoids. So these toxoids are given as an injection, and that can provide immunity to the person. Next, let us move on to the role of bacteria in agriculture. Okay. So we have covered about the importance of bacteria in medicine. Now we are looking at the role of bacteria in agriculture. So one of the important aspects of bacteria in agriculture is with respect to fixation of nitrogen, the nitrogen cycle. Okay, the nitrogen cycle. What is nitrogen cycle? Why we need a nitrogen cycle? Nitrogen is available in the atmosphere, okay, as N2 diatomic state, okay, a gas form, okay, it is available as a gas, but the plants cannot directly use nitrogen for their growth. Okay, they can use oxygen, they can use oxygen for respiration, they can use carbon dioxide for the purpose of photosynthesis. Okay, both of them gas, but they cannot use nitrogen directly. Okay, so what happens in the roots of the plants, mostly leguminous plants? What do you mean by leguminous plants? Leguminous plants means leguminous plants, okay, these are pulses. Okay, pulses. Okay, what you say in Hindi, dal, whatever the pulses are there, dal. So there are root nodules in this kind of there will be some kind of nodes or nodules present in the roots, and these have a certain bacteria called rhizobium. Okay, rhizobium, very important. Okay, this rhizobium bacteria that is present in the root nodules, it is able to fix this nitrogen, so that we say nitrogen fixation. Okay, so basically what is happening, nitrogen, okay, what it does, it reacts with hydrogen gas, okay, and what it is going to form, it is going to form ammonia. Okay, who is doing it? Rhizobium. Rhizobium. What is rhizobium? It is a bacteria that is present in the root nodules. There are also other bacteria, okay, like Azotobacter and Clostridium. Okay, the difference between these two is that this is not free form, but this is free form. That is, it is present directly in the soil. This is present directly in the soil. This is present in the root nodules. Okay, rhizobium is present in the root nodules. So that is nitrogen fixation. That is, atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonia. Okay, so atmospheric nitrogen using this one is biological fixation of rhizobium is converted into ammonia. The next one is a nitrification. Okay, ammonia gas is it, this is what you say, ammonium ion is converted into nitrite and then into nitrate, NO3. Okay, this is nitrite, this is nitrate. Okay, this is ammonium ion. Okay, so nitrosomonas, nitrosomonas will convert the ammonium ion into nitrite, and nitrobacter will convert the nitrite into nitrate. Okay, nitrate can be used directly by the plants because plants need the nitrogen for making the proteins, okay, and many other nitrogen compounds. So nitrosomonas, what is going to do? Convert ammonium ion into nitrite. Nitrite is converted into nitrate by nitrobacter. Okay, easy way to remember, nitrate, 8. Okay, A के बाद क्या आएगा? B, bacter, nitrobacter, because most of the students confuse with nitrosomonas and nitrobacter. So nitrate, nitrobacter, some kind of things to remember we need to. So the second one is called nitrification, where ammonium ions is converted into nitrate. The third reaction in the nitrogen cycle is the conversion of nitrite or nitrate into ammonium ions, or we can say ammonia gas. Okay, so this is done by decomposers. Okay, whatever the dead and decaying plant material is there and all those kinds of things, plant and animal waste, that is converted by those kind of decomposers. Okay, denitrification, what it means? Denitrification, nitrate is converted into nitrogen gas. So we started with nitrogen fixation, nitrogen gas, and we end up with nitrogen gas again. So that is a cycle. So nitrate is converted into the atmospheric nitrogen again by bacteria, that is Pseudomonas. Okay, so what happened during this nitrogen cycle? Okay, the nitrogen was converting into different types of compounds, that is nitrogen was converted into ammonium compound, nitrite and nitrate. Okay, and again back into atmospheric nitrogen, and all this was being done by whom? It was done by different bacteria. Who got benefited? Many living creatures on earth get benefited because they need nitrogen. And how the plants, particularly with respect to agriculture, they are getting what is the importance? They are able to fix the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrate. Okay, because nitrate form the plants will take. Okay, Moving on to another application of bacteria in industry. Okay, so here basically there are many different types of applications of bacteria in industry. We are here only going to discuss two applications. Okay, one is in the tea industry. Okay, in the tea industry, so the tea leaves that are collected from the plants, they are allowed to mature in a process called tea curing. Okay, so there are different types of bacteria that are present in these cultures, and how what species of bacteria are coming in this one, based upon that different flavors will come in the tea leaves. Okay, another application of bacteria is in leather tanning. Okay, leather tanning, as you can see here, there are a huge these kind of pot like structures in which hide this hide is immersed, and there are a lot of different types of chemicals and step by step process, in which one of this one in tanning, what happens is the bacteria, it will secrete the enzymes. These enzymes will degrade the kind of other unnecessary kind of requirement in making leather. Okay, in the hide, whatever other things are there, it will digest it, and then what happens, the leather will become soft by the action of enzymes. Okay, moving on to another very important role of bacteria, that is in the spoilage of food. Okay, it's also very important because many people, they suffer from food poisoning. Okay, in newspapers, in news, you see commonly time to time we get this, that there was a food poisoning. Okay, so what happens when the food is not stored properly, then the bacteria can grow in that, and these bacteria, they will secrete some kind of toxins. There is a food poisoning, we call this as botulism. Okay, botulism. Okay, so what happens is the bacteria secretes a toxin, and because the bacteria is multiplying, it also releases a lot of gas. So whenever there is respiration, as you have seen in the previous chapter, when there is respiration, they will release the gas, that is the carbon dioxide gas. Okay, and that will fill up. So whenever, if it is a closed packet or something and you open that, the fizz sound will come, like, okay, so that means there was some bacterial growth inside that. Okay, so how do we preserve the food? It is very important to preserve the food, because though we produce a lot of food, if it is not stored properly, then there will be a lot of food wastage. What are the methods in which we can preserve the food? Number one, sterilization. What is the meaning of sterilization? Sterilization means in an autoclave or pressure cooker. A autoclave is also a form of pressure cooker that is used in laboratories. So the temperature that you get inside that is about 110 degrees. Okay, and for a specified period of time it is allowed to cook in that. So what happens, even very difficult spores, okay, so bacterial spores, endospores, we have discussed earlier in the previous lecture, they are able to survive for very long period of time. Okay, so club like structures we have seen in the last class. Okay, these kind of spores, they are very much resistant to chemicals, temperature and so on. These will be killed by sterilization. Okay, another method is salting. So in fish, pickles, cheese, similar kind of foods, we add a lot of salt. So what happens when you add a lot of salt? Suppose this is a cell and outside there is a lot of salt. So what is going to happen, the salt is going to pull all the water out of the cell. So then what is going to happen, the cell will become In this way it will shrink. Okay, it will shrink. So this is another method of uh, preservation of food, where the bacterial cells or other pathogenic bacteria are not getting an opportunity to grow. Okay. Next, dehydration. Dehydration. So if there is less water content, will the bacteria able to grow? No, water is required for life. So if you reduce the water content, keep on reducing by exposure to either drying in the sunlight, okay, or by other mechanical methods, that is also an excellent way of preservation of food. So grains, meat, fish, vegetables, all of these we see are commonly dehydrated. Next, a less common method we see is irradiation. Okay, so in this method what happens is UV light or radioactivity, radioactive rays may be used for food preservation. So what UV light does? UV light will damage the DNA of the bacterial cells. So they will die. And what radioactive rays are going to do? The radioactive rays also, they can go deep inside the whatever fruits or vegetables, okay, or meat they want to preserve. The radioactivity is able to go deep inside and kill the bacteria. Okay, so it is a slightly expensive and less common method, irradiation. Next is pasteurization. Pasteurization. Pasteurization is a very common method we see particularly with milk. Okay, if you look in the milk packets, it will be written pasteurized milk. Okay, so what happens? They are heated at 60 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes and then suddenly they are cooled. Okay, suddenly they are cooled. So then what happens? Most of the bacteria will die as it is at this 60 degrees for 30 minutes, and then suddenly when you chill it, it doesn't allow the remaining bacteria to grow. Pasteurization is important because if you boil it completely, then the flavor of the milk may change. Okay, so uh, pasteurization is a very common method for preservation of milk, fruit juices. Okay. Next, refrigeration. So you already know that we generally preserve our food in fridge at home. Okay. So inside the fridge, the temperature may be between 0 to 5 degrees centigrade. Okay. So what happens when you reduce the temperature? Then what will happen to growth of bacteria? It will become very slow. So generally what we do is we store the vegetables, fruits, fishes, etc. in the fridge. There is another way which is a deep refrigeration. That is at minus 20, minus 30 degrees centigrade. Okay, it is deep refrigeration. So generally this is done for meat. Okay, because people want to export the meat. Okay, then it has to be stored for long span, about 1 month or like that. So they go for deep refrigeration. Here the bacteria do not have any chance to grow. Where they will not die. They will not die, but they won't grow. Strong concentrations and chemicals. Okay, this is also a method. So this is very common with jams and pickles. Okay, what we do, we add a lot of sugar. Okay, lot of sugar. So whatever we make the juice or something, we keep on boiling and make it very concentrated. So when we make something really very concentrated, that also can be stored for a long time. Okay, because it will result in the plasmolysis of the bacterial cells. Okay, in chemicals, the most common one you see is sodium benzoate. Okay, sodium benzoate is a very common chemical that we are seeing in all our preserved foods. Okay, moving on to the next application of bacteria is in the diseases of plants and animals. Okay, Here we are just going to look at couple of examples of diseases by bacteria in plants. One is black rot of mustard and cauliflower. Okay, same mustard leaf, cauliflower, you can see this kind of black happening. This is all by the bacteria. Black rot, it is called black rot. The other one is black blight of cowpea. So you can see the cowpea leaf. Okay, so it is having this kind of damage on the leaves. Examples of bacterial diseases in animals: anthrax. Okay, anthrax, very dangerous bacteria. Okay, it leads to swelling of the body and reduced milk production. Okay, so this we are telling with respect to say cow, okay, or zebra and similar animals. So they are when they graze, they are eating the grass outside. Sometimes the soil material that will go into their food, so they may contain these bacteria, and these bacteria produce anthrax toxin, which is very deadly. Okay, next, bovine tuberculosis. Tuberculosis also happens in animals, not only humans. Tuberculosis is also there, TB, what we say, also there in animals like cows and buffaloes and so on. So the lungs will get affected, and they also have a cough that is very dry and husky. So here, though it is very small, so this is like a microscopic section of the lungs tissue of the animal, and these blue spots are all the bacteria. In humans, there are different bacterial diseases like whooping cough, cholera, tuberculosis, diphtheria, typhoid, pneumonia, tetanus. Okay, the details of these we have in our coming chapter, so we will discuss about these more detail in the coming chapters. Okay, these are some of the examples of the bacterial disease in humans. Okay, next, coming to the one of the last application is the bioweapons. Okay, bioweapons. Certain bacteria, they can be used as bioweapons. Okay, anthrax spores. Okay, anthrax not only affects the animals, okay, but also humans. Not only the cattle but also humans. And there are other examples like Clostridium botulinum. Botulinum is the botulism which we discussed earlier. The food poisoning, Clostridium botulinum. Yersinia pestis, this is another very deadly disease. A smallpox is also a bioweapon. It is not a bacteria. Okay, it is a virus. Smallpox is a virus. So some rogue countries may try to use the bacteria as bioweapons. So they produce large quantities of these spores of these bacteria, and they will release into the other countries. Okay, so these are some of the examples and applications of bacteria. In the next video, we will discuss the questions related to economic importance of bacteria. Okay, both from the textbook as well as a few conceptual questions. Okay, so hope all of you will also go through your textbook and please revise. Okay, so I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.